morning. I believe all of you have some interest in economy around green technology, recycling and all. I have very dear friends and very noted persons with me today in the panel. I'll put a context of 2-3 minutes and then I will start the conversation around. How many of you have any enterprises around recycling? Oh, very nice. How many of you are working as researcher or policymaker in this domain? Quite a bit. How many of you have invested in this segment of business? Quite a bit. Good. So I think we have all sides of spectrum with us. People who believe that this is a sector for creating wealth, people who believe that technology can be created in this segment, and also people who believe that enabling this ecosystem makes sense. So I think it's a wonderful crowd. So I congratulate the organizers for getting a wonderful crowd today, particularly SALT and GCCI. So I'll just introduce a little bit about who are the people who are going to talk to you in this forum. So myself, Hiranmay, I'm the CEO of iHub. This is the State Innovation Hub of Gujarat government. We support a lot of startups. We support a lot of policy innovations in the government. We give them support of mentorship, support of money, support of markets, help you to grow in their journey of mind to market. I have my colleague in the panel, Neal, who has built a wonderful enterprise in recycling area, a 500 crore company right in Ahmedabad, solved a very complex issue, make it more appealing, make it more viable, make it more scalable rather. I have also somebody who invests in these kind of companies because, putting money in a very, very non-so-formal sector or putting money in non-so-flashy domain of investments is not easy. You need to do a lot of innovation in financing innovation in this space. So we have a friend from Circulate Capital who will talk about what investors might be looking into enabling this kind of enterprises in this domain. And I have dear friend and mentor, Mr. Prakasam with us, who is a partner of Acumen Fund, world's leading impact investment fund. He's also one of the top 3 authority in impact investment in India. He has been the person behind creating the impact vertical of India Angels and a gamut of angel investment ecosystem. He's also chief mentor at NS Raghavan Center for Entrepreneurship at IIM Bangalore. He's also been very, very proactive policy change agents, influencing SEBI, influencing governments in designing policies for economics around sustainability. So we have policy, investors, entrepreneurs, and government. So I think like all of you come from diverse background, we are here. So please keep this in mind when you will have questions towards the end to make the process simpler and to understand in detail what they are and what they are doing. I will request each of my panelists to spare 6-8 minutes to introduce themselves and tell about their journey and what they are doing, and then probably we'll ask a question. Should I request Neal to start with?
Check. Am I audible to all of you? Awesome. Thank you, sir, for the lovely introduction. And I want to start off by thanking Greens India for organizing such a lovely event. Definitely want to take a pause and say that we are incredibly proud to be one of the associate sponsors for this event. And bringing together all stakeholders and the entire recycling ecosystem under one roof for an ecosystem in Gujarat that has always been traditional but very deep-rooted. So this is a great platform, and we're really excited to be a part of it. When we talk about decoding the business opportunity in recycling, right? For us, the journey has always been viewing it as an ecosystem rather than standalone as a solid waste problem, right? And this is a good segue for me to introduce what we're also building in this space. So at Magma, we are a end-to-end industrial supply chain company. We serve factories, and we have a range of offerings for them to make them more better, greener, efficient, while also making them more digital. So we have advanced materials business where we provide high performance materials that improve the yield and production batches for factories. We have a waste management business where we're in the entire life cycle of collection, sorting, and recycling of industrial waste such as paper and plastic. We are in a precision engineering business where we supply design to deliver critical industrial components. And we have a digital solutions business where we digitize all the parts of the business that you just heard. And I think when you look at it, for us, identifying the efficiency problem always came from understanding that while a lot has been talked about Indian manufacturing and sustainability, we continue with the thesis that very little has been talked about the readiness for factories to do the same. I think humbly speaking, sustainability and recycling, when we talk about the manufacturing world, has never really been an intent problem. It's been a lack of an ecosystem problem. So it's almost as if one can say that there are factories ready to adopt the greener route, but the critical infrastructure to get them to that route is the missing piece, right? And that's what we call the manufacturing readiness. And I think for us, identifying that part of the puzzle where we serve a factory with something that is so deeply meaningful to them, and then identifying a commercial use case around making them adopt more greener inputs, greener supply chain, and bundling all of it together kind of leads to a commercial IRR that makes it attractive for everyone in the same value chain. When we specifically talk about Magma Green, our waste management and circular manufacturing vertical, what we've seen is that industries are generating a lot of waste, but the collection of it and then the further value addition of it is not just broken, but it's also not connected in one shape or form. So say when you talk about a 300 crore medium-sized factory in Gujarat, and on average they're generating say 45 metric tons a month of waste, what are we going to do that the downstream collection of that waste and that getting converted into whether it's bales or flakes or chips or even finished products? I think that's the gap. And when I interact with largest recyclers, some of them present here in the space, I think that's the area where we feel that consistent feedstock supply with the right compliance and connecting the back-end dots is a huge problem for startups to solve. That's where we also built an AI platform called Samyak Eco, where we're mapping the entire traceability of cargo, covering the back end, and making sure that factories getting the waste feedstock is not just consistent but compliant. And now that you bundle that with other ecosystem-oriented offerings, you're talking about an asset that's not just getting utilization, but it's getting in the right sustainable fashion. And I know 6-7 minutes is somewhat of a less time for me to double down on all of this, but we continue to be incredibly bullish on the recycling opportunity. It's not just recycling with a purpose, but it's recycling with a profit. We are extremely proud for Magma Green to be the largest cash cow for our organization, and we will continue to invest on it, and especially in the state of Gujarat in the years to come. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Neal, for this introduction of what you do. I think this will inspire a lot of entrepreneurs to look. This is a sector to venture into. Should I take the liberty to request you to share how did you start your journey in Circulate Capital and what exactly guys are doing? Yeah.
Thank you. First of all, thank you to organizers for creating such a conference and setup. Having started 5 years back when recycling was not very common and not being organized, we have been facing the situation that banks were not even recognizing waste as an inventory and not lending money. Coming from that age to sitting here where all of the people are talking only about recycling is actually feels very great. So with that context, Circulate Capital is an impact investment fund. We are based out of Singapore, but India is very much our investing territory. We started in 2019. We are now a $450 million fund globally. We have invested in 8 companies already. Some of you who belongs to the sector will know names like Lucro, Shri Chakra, Dalmia, Deluxe, Ricron, Nepra. So what we did was when we started 5 years back, these were very small companies and we invested across the ecosystem, collection, processing, recycling, and across polymers, whether it's polyolefins, PET. So we try to cover that, and of course Recycle, one of the digitization platform as well, which we recently exited. So we started with a thesis that for the circular economy and plastics being a major problem, we started investing in plastics recycling. Our investors are some of the large corporates, which are like Unilever, Coca-Cola, Mondelez, some of the governments like British government, BII, Proparco from French, IFC. And one of the value add we bring in, given our investors are some of the large corporates, they also help these companies, basically the end customers of these products, the recycled product is these end users, FMCG companies. So we kind of opened that door. Some of the growth stories which I would love to talk about later in the session today, how these companies grown on the back of these FMCG companies as well. They kind of co-piloted products with them and they have came so far. So that's our thesis. We started with plastics recycling. Now with a larger fund and a larger mandate, we are open to invest across recycling streams, whether e-waste, metal, textiles, plastics, waste management platforms. So that's the kind of work we want to do and kind of increase the thesis. Apart from that, not only invest money and take out, we have kind of demonstrated to the investors that with our partial exits and full exits in recycle, that it's not only an impact problem, you can actually, it's a commercially viable models. We have exited some of our companies at much better returns, which normal private equity funds eye for. So we have proved that model as well during these 4 years, and that's why you see much of the larger institutional capital, Morgan Stanley's of the world, Hindustan Unilever, some of the brands are directly coming in and investing in the companies like which people like you are creating here. So that model is also being proven in the last 4 to 5 years of work. Apart from that, we also work with the downstream supply chain, responsible sourcing program, the waste workers, aggregators, feedstock, which is a very important part of any recycling ecosystem. We kind of work with the recyclers, their waste aggregators, tier 1, tier 2, waste workers, to kind of provide living wages, aim towards providing a living wages, basic schooling facilities for their children, basic health facilities, linked Aadhaar card so that there are no cash payments. So some of the basic work also we are kind of enabling the technical assistance. Basically your BIIs, French governments have the program to give grants for these kind of facilities. So we channelize those grants, at least for our recycling companies, some of these supply chains, we kind of formalize them. So that's the kind of work we are kind of doing apart from creating the end products or the markets for the company. Thank you.
Thank you, Saurabh, for introducing what Circulate Capital is doing. Naga sir is a veteran in this domain with 25 years of experience in impact investing, impact startups enabling, and policy. So, sir, looking up to you.
Thanks, Hiran. This is a fantastic event. Thanks to the organizer because the expo I really liked. Yesterday I spent almost all day. Beautifully done, lot of interaction, a lot of innovation, and thanks to focus on just recycling alone, right? Because the green has so many things. I think now focus on recycling. Maybe this is the first conference in the country around that. I think that's a great idea. I think thanks for executing this beautifully as well. So coming back, this what Hiranmay mentioned, right? The Acumen, we have started looking at this problem many years back. Almost 15 years back, we've invested in husk power system, where in Bihar, many of the villages do not have electricity, but the rice husk thrown as a waste. So we have developed a system from the technologies from IAC, Professor Dasapa. You put any biomass waste and there is a produces a syngas, you send it to a turbine, it makes electricity. That's a technology developed 20 years back, right? So we picked up a similar model in Bihar using rice husk. We had 100 villages every day, 5 o'clock and 10 o'clock, there is power. The waste is from the rice mills there itself and produces power, and the char, biochar, and still can go as a fertilizer or for incense sticks. So this is done 15 years back. Similarly, in Uttarakhand, right, Gadgodam is the last railhead. From there, 9 hours of drive. I went to see Rajneesh, and 9 hours of drive, you see the pine trees everywhere. Beautiful, you can draw a picture out it. I said, there's a beautiful scenic road. He said, that's a problem because there is no biodiversity, right? Pine was introduced by the British for the wood and also pine oil. It killed the entire ecosystem because the pine needle summer, this thick falls on the ground, nothing grows. This entrepreneur took this pine needle and then started keeping the land free and put the same biogas system, the producer gas model, produce electricity. He never drew power from the grid for his 5-acre area. He made power from the pine needle that he picked it up from the ground, and he saw the Himalayan oak coming out, right? Cypress coming out. These are all natural biodiversity coming in. This is 15 years back. So I'm glad today that we are talking about the recycling and how all these wastes can start creating value and solving problem. So we produced electricity 15 years back. Now, 35 years back, one of our Acumen investment, Damodaran, started looking about open defecation, right? And he built toilets so that you don't have to take the septic tank, put the fecal matter out. And it works on anaerobic bacteria and 2 pits, right? The fecal matter goes in 1 pit, it's full. 3 months after, you put it on the, change the valve, it goes to another pit. You put your hand in, and you have fertilizer after 3 months. Goes as a fertilizer for the farmer. So this is what Swachh Bharat picked up, right? I'm glad that our investment happened like 15 years back. Last year, Padma Shri Award is given to Damodaran as a toilet man of India. So this is what amazing entrepreneurs have been doing in the space, but I'm glad today corporates have been pushed on that thanks to the ESG. With the environment, social and governance, it is no longer social entrepreneurs' problem, it is everybody's problem. I think that is why this conference is a great example. What few social entrepreneurs did many years back, it became mainstream. I'm very, very happy. Yesterday, you might have heard from Vilma, right? Vilma is one of my investment sahas. And she has the thought about the waste producer should be punished, not rewarded, right? All recycling companies, all the waste management companies do not pay money to get the waste from the producer. If you pay money to get the waste, and he will make more waste, right? And the price will, somebody will come and cut you up another 50 rupees less or 1 rupee less, whatever it is. So waste producer should be punished, not rewarded, number one. That is what Saha's model is. Because people pay to manage their waste. She creates zero waste campus. So last 15 years, IMB campus is a zero waste campus managed by Sahas. And IMB pays for every kg she manages, they pay. So that is why today we don't carry PET bottle. All of us have to create a bottle with us, right? Because the more waste we create, the more money we have to pay. Automatically change the behavior, right? Because you punish the bad behavior, it'll stop. If you reward the bad behavior, they're going to keep doing it. So that is the model about Sahas. Today she manages 100 ton of waste, which is zero waste. So hold on to the waste because she's the first one to collect the waste. Then she can do what is the right thing with the waste. And the second part, with the, you have a dry waste, all many things can be done. Wet waste. And a lot of people still working on vermicompost. We can start looking at the biogas and the fertilizer instead of just vermicompost alone. So that is what Sahas was doing earlier. Now I have another investment called Carbon Masters. So they take this biogas, it's a 100-year-old technology. It's a flop in the country. So he would spend 2 years, what is the problem, right? It has H2S, it has carbon dioxide, everything. There is IIT Bombay technology he uses to scrub that. So the resultant is 98% methane. And he worked on a compression technology that is intellectual property. He's today is India's first cylinder. You can buy a compressed biogas cylinder and use it in restaurant. So I was just having a meal in the Empire restaurant last week in Bangalore. Last 4 years, they're using that gas 100%. Today, with all the gas problem, they have no problem, right? Bangalore, for example, need 200 ton of LPG every day. If all our wet waste is converted, we can get 100 ton. Half of the need can be met by our own waste. So that is what Carbon Master is about, right? They have like 40-ton plants running. There is now government has given, after this crisis, this is what amazing entrepreneurs figure out. They figure out problems before the crisis starts. When the crisis starts, they are the heroes. Right now, he is a hero. Gail, putting a pipeline to his plant. He said, give me your gas. We need your gas, right? So he's now saying that I want this price. Gail is ready to give that price. And now all the restaurants want this gas now because few restaurants using this gas, they never had a gas issues. So now government has given them 900-ton plant because Bangalore produces 6,500 ton waste. They said build a 900-ton plant, show that what you have done in 100 ton, can you do 900 ton? So this is what Hiranmay is talking about, the policy. So entrepreneurs have an ability to innovate and show it is scalable, government will call you. Then the problem solved. Same thing happened with Damodaran, right? He was building toilets for 35 years. Swachh Bharat happened, he told what need to be done, and he got a Padma Shri. He said, my job is done, right? He went on working on menstrual hygiene right now. Similarly, now what the gas issue, now government is calling SOM. They've created a policy for compressed biogas. They're telling about don't make biogas which has impurities, clean the gas, put it in a cylinder, sell the cylinder. Compressed biogas, a new term Indian government is now creating for this problem, which is a 100-year-old problem. Because gobar gas, 50 years back, government did gobar gas. My grandfather had a gobar gas plant. We thought that will solve our kitchen problem. Did not, because we did not work on the impurities in the biogas. That's what this one entrepreneur solved. Today, if you put a biogas plant, it's a priority lending. Government, banks will give you loan. So that is the policy change this one entrepreneur is able to do in the compressed biogas place. We'll just talk further on the question and answer. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I think you narrated the story so nicely. Now let me also put few points to our panelists. Meanwhile, you plan your questions. Okay, we'll give you enough time to ask questions. So Neal Bhai has built a company from scratch. I'm sure when he graduated from US as an economics student, he would have a lot of options. Like he can go to SaaS, he can go to technology, he can go to anything else, but he picked this sector. So I would like to understand from him two things. One, 4-5 years before or 6 years before, when you thought about creating business models around waste recycle, what made you to think in this direction? And second, assuming that you have raised over 100 crores of capital in your company, 500 crore plus work order pending in this financial year in your books, solved across 250 plus industries in 10 states. Did you ever thought that probably this is a sector where you will struggle to convince investors? And if so, how did you manage to get the money coming to your account? Would you like to a little bit throw about it?
Thank you, sir. That's a really insightful question. I'll start off by saying that back in 2021, when I was moving back from the US to India, and early 22, we were starting off with building Magma. One of the overarching realizations was that these are real world problems that we're aiming to solve. And B2B, supply chain, waste recycling, procurement, manufacturing, they don't change overnight, right? These are things that need to happen on a routine basis. And fundamentally, when we talk about building a scalable organization, if you're actually adding value and building for these real world issues, as a young entrepreneur, you're not just going to get the velocity and uptick to build a high throttle company, but you get a chance to solve problems that are impacting the economy at large, right? And I know this is more like a generalist answer, but to double click on some of the nuances here, starting the waste business did not come intuitively to us. In fact, the journey of Magma started with building our other verticals and then stumbling upon building the waste business, right? And that kind of, when you zoom out and kind of map it with my previous answer, that's exactly the ecosystem sort of problem and solution that we were going after. And I think it's something along the lines of what Nagaraja sir also mentioned, that the moment you try solving for the downstream with stuff that is day in, day out for them, these problems are going to come in front of you, if not sooner than later, right? So, an example I'd love to give is like, when we started the advanced materials business, a lot of our time was spent in and out of factories, right? And we'd often see that, okay, this factory actually has a more than 1,000 square feet area where they're just dumping their waste and waiting for some Tom, Dick, and Harry to come and collect it at some point, right? And that's where the whole idea came, that what if we could build a reverse logistics system where, as part of the existing offerings, they can, load back the same waste back, and we can, do a meaningful return out of it. And that was the birth of, identifying our recycling partners, setting up our own yards, investing more into doing more value addition around sorting, cleaning, washing, baling, grinding. And you tend to realize that, that's exactly what circular economy is, right? It does not start off with the first step to build a circular economy. It ties on to a existing supply chain. So I think we were very hungry, but also very lucky to stumble upon customers who had waste lying around on their factory, and we realized that, okay, this is being sold for 18 rupees a kg after conversion, and you're selling it to me for 6 rupees a kg. And that's where you kind of zoom out and realize that, okay, that's the ecosystem we want to build, and that's the operating system we want to build. When we talk about raising capital, right, our largest shareholder is General Catalyst, which is a Silicon Valley investor. And one of the theses they had for Magma was waste is something that every factory is going to emit. And whether it is backward or forward, if you end up building a supply chain, it's going to be a good go-to-market driver. So today, I have my team here. When they enter a new geography or a new sector, the first sell to them is, hey, would you be interested in our waste feedstock, or would you be interested in our waste liquidation? And that gets your feet into the door, right? And for a company like ours, it provides an opportunity for cross-sell, upsell, and the entire cohort journey, right? It starts with them getting onboarded via Magma Green and then getting, transitioned into our other offerings. And I think that is something that I think, humbly speaking, our investors really found interesting about. And that brought in, when we raised capital from Capria Ventures, which is Bill Gates-led fund, there was a similar realization they also stumbled upon, is that in itself, these are bread butter problems to solve, which are standalone being treated as startups. But when you bundle them out, it acts as the operating system you're trying to build. And, of course, Saurabh here would have more thoughts around the nuance of it. But for us, the waste management problem isn't just standalone. It's actually an entry point for us. I have my engineering team here, and they ended up building an entire engineering vertical just by doing the waste management business, because the customers that are using our feedstock would need critical components that they were previously procuring from the China, Germany, OEMs of the world. Now, how about an integrated partner like Magma that's not just going to solve for your feedstock and compliance around it, but also your plant uptime and the efficiency that is done in the forward integration of that waste? And I think we're just scratching the surface. It's a 4th year of business. A lot has gone right and a lot has been learned. And we continue to be heads down building and doubling down in this space.
Wonderful. I think this is a great lesson. Now going to Saurabh, I mean, you heard from a founder's perspective, right? When you operate in the ecosystem as an investor, you also might be taking money from LPs or institutional funds and try to maximize ROIs or even impacts by investing in companies. So from the investor lens, how do you manage making sure that you also remain a profitable ecosystem in this domain? How do you guide? What kind of role your fund plays? Do you passively invest or work with the investors? Or how do you operate? And second thing is, would you also try to elaborate some case studies from your portfolio companies that beyond passive investments, how did you help them going up in the ladder in terms of scaling their enterprise, in terms of accessing next level of capital, or even creating an iconic company in that domain? Would you like to highlight a little bit?
Thank you, thank you. It's a great question when you started by saying that how do you create social impact with profitability intact? I think that is the key, because if you try to solve this in isolation, that you just want to give money and solve for the waste, you can do probably a year, 2 or 5 years. But if you want to solve any problem perennially, that has to be self-sustainable financially as well. So that's what I said when I started, that our LPs or our investors, when they gave money, we are an impact fund. We want to solve the waste management problem, but not in the isolation that we give money and forget. We want to create returns as well. So that is the thing, that when we first started, we started with $100 million, and now we are a $500 million fund, primarily because we are able to generate returns as well. Coming to the question that when we invest in circular economy companies, like the companies, great companies which people like Neal are creating, given that sector has inherent challenges, when you start the thing, this has an downstream, you deal with unorganized waste workers, aggregators, right? There are problems, how do you formalize that chain? Then you have a recycling problem, that which machines to create. If you go to Europe, there are machines which are $5 million, $5 million, and they are not ready, or they are not made for Indian waste, right? There is a peculiar problem. The doodh ka thali, the milk pouches which we have, Europe and US doesn't have that. They consume either in PET bottles or different packages, right? So how can a machine which is created in Europe will solve the waste problem of India, which the same milk packet has ink on it? The same milk packet has been thrown into the garbage dustbins without being washed. So there is an odor problem, there is an inking problem. So that's where Indian entrepreneurs are working great, and they are creating Indian machines at much cheaper cost, and people who are embracing them, not basically blindly going towards high cost European machine which will give them an high quality. It doesn't work like that. So recycling is an Indian problem. We have to solve it through Indian innovation as well. And that's where we feel very proud that there are various innovative solutions coming all across the country and in this room as well. So we work very hands-on, and we work very actively with the companies. And by active, it doesn't mean that we come and take the role of a CEO or CXO and the promoters out. That's not the intent. Agar wo aata hota, to then we started our own company. So an investor, basically, when we come in, we guide them with strategy. We guide them with formalizing governance. We work daily on basis that when do you need more money, how do you want to channelize that, and towards profitability journey, like these machine decisions. Now, since we are operating since 5 and 6 years, without being an operator myself, I know what kind of wash line will work for PET, what kind of Taiwanese wash line, what component it is. So that much how deeply we involve in this. But nothing to take away from our founders and promoters. They take day-to-day job decisions. They own their companies. We are just there to facilitate. But how to interact with waste workers, how to basically professionalize, hire the leadership for the futures, because most of the people have started as a family business or maybe an one-man army, which is right for this sector at the initial stages. But as you target for more institutional fund, as you target for, let's say, IPOs, I see in next 2 to 3 years, some of my companies go to an IPO, and we'll be very proud to see a waste management or a recycling company is being IPO'd in the country. That's the dream now we have. So to take them to that direction, what kind of institutional governance, leadership, etc. processes are required? That's where we come in, and we are already helping our companies 3 years before when they are being IPOable. In terms of opening the door for the customers, like I mentioned, some of our LPs are FMCG clients, which are their customers. We basically make them actively work with them. So I'll take an example. Hiranmay Bhai has asked me to give a case study. Lucro, I think you all have heard of, and we are very proud of that one investment. When we started, they were at 4 crores. Now they are more than 350 crores in 4 years of time. They were making only garbage bags, which I think people in this room know where is a low margin product. And they are a polyolefins player. Across South Asia, Southeast Asia, at this scale, a polyolefin player operating in a very profitably, you will hardly find players like this, right? PET people have created scale, but polyolefins is a different game because the collection is different, right? They started their own collection systems to solve this problem. PET being collected from last 10, 15, 20 years because of textile industry, but polyolefins is not yet organized. The milk and the odor problem I told you, right? That's a problem. HDPE is basically come across in different shapes and formats, shampoo bottles, oil bottles, all of that. So how do you collect that? They invested, when we invested, we gave them the strategy, started that you open your own collection centers. You have to integrate the polyolefin waste to kind of being a successful recycler. Because if, let's say, Hindustan Unilever or a Dow ask you 500 or 1,000 tons of material, you have to procure 3,000 tons for that kind of a product, right? And you cannot go to aggregator and assure your customer the quality if you are not sure about the feedstock. Feedstock here is not that easy, that if I have to create a steel ingot, I'll just go and buy steel from outside. It's not that easy and it's not readily available. It's a simple business model, but it's a very difficult business model. You have to think through your feedstock, how do you collect it? Then you have to think through your recycling, how do you profitably manage it, not just only EPR, without EPR, and then how your product is actually creating value for your customer. Because if you are not able to sell that processed waste, believe me, you will not be able to successful. You can be successful for 1 year, but if you are not creating that EBITDA margin for yourself, the company will die down, the sector will die down eventually. So what they did was that basically when we come in, we introduced them to Hindustan Unilever, we introduced them to Coke. So they are from the garbage bag manufacturer, they are now supplying granules or products for secondary packaging and primary packaging as well. The Surf Excel, which is coming to your home, has 30 to 40% recycled content. In 4 years, they have created that product with Hindustan Unilever. How difficult it is? Very difficult, because we know how FMCG companies work. To get a product approved in these large factories, if there are 10 factories and each factory has 10 lines, for a new product or a new granule to approve, that product has to pass through every line, every factory. So 10 into 10, 100 factories, which is run by, let's say, 5 or 10 converters. So you see the scale. It took them 2 to 3 years, but when it worked, the scale from 500 tons to reach to 3,000, 4,000 tons. And the revenues are scaled up as well. So that's the kind of grit which is required. And that's why I always advise for the business model that think feedstock, how do you collect for it? Recycling processes, I think you already have been figured out. That's why you are in this sector to some extent. But end customer is very important, because if you do not crack it, that 12, 15, 20% EBITDA margin is not there. So what kind of problem you are solving at the end of the day for the customer? And that's where the sustainable models are being created. And there are a lot of challenges. People have, like RPET, there are now bottle-to-bottle recycling, which is already happening. How to kind of capture that. There are margin-enhancing initiatives there as well. What are you doing with the bottle caps? People are creating fishing nets out of those. So that's where there are different business models which are there. We co-create these business models. Now we are deep into this industry. So that's where we help. And this is all about plastics. E-waste has similar challenges. Now e-waste recycling, which we understand right now, is only surviving because of that 18 to 20 rupees EPR. Which when that will go away, that basically viable gap funding, you can call it, for some time. But then that will go away in a year or two. Then people, the recycler, should not cry that LG or Samsung are not paying us. What are we doing? Are we moving from only dismantling or primary processing towards secondary processing? Am I going towards the precious metals, which are a high margin product? So these 2 or 3 years, when somebody is paying you 20 rupees extra, where you are profitable because of that EPR, try to invest in value addition or R&D, so that when that EPR will go away, you are always, any which way, a sustainable business model. So that's the kind of work basically we encourage our founders and business models we look for. And we are very happy actually that this kind of work is happening.
Thank you, Saurabh. I think it's wonderful the way you have curated your companies, right from sourcing them to growing them. I will now come to Naga sir. Sir, I have a question from because we are making policies in government. दो चीजें हैं. First is what are the policies, best practices that you see globally, maybe in different geographies, which have enabled this ecosystem of economics around waste management evolving? And do you think India need to pick up a couple of best practices which might have been tried here and there and implemented in Indian context? That question number one. And the second question is, You know, every ecosystem takes time to grow. You have seen impact investments. We talk about 120 unicorns existing in this country by now. What do you think is the pathway of a conversation around impact unicorns? I mean, if you look at 120 privately held billion-dollar startups in India, uh, 2 or 3 might be falling in the definition of impact unicorns, but 2 out of 120 is not a very big ratio, right? So first question is policy best practices that probably we can emulate. And second thing is, how do you see we setting up a narrative around impact unicorns in this country?
Awesome. Yeah, that very interesting question, right? So one is about the best practices elsewhere, how we can adapt and do. If you look at many of like US, the model is about centralized processing, get everything in one place and do something around. But India, we cannot do centralized processing. We need to have a decentralized model. So this is about learning that what is possible in the country, what is not possible in somewhere else, right? If you look at Sahar, right, every campus, she will segregate there itself and directly goes to the destination from the campus. So then you don't need to haul away everything in one place and do that part. That is the one learning. And for this, she got an award. She went to US. She got a global citizen award. She went to US and telling US how India I am managing waste. So this seems to be other way around, right? The Carbon Master example I've told, both Wilma and the Carbon Masters, they went to China. And they're telling China how they're managing waste. Germany gave an award to them, right? So because there is one plant we have in Bangalore, the Koramangala, there's one ward. All the ward, that waste processed there itself. That wet waste processed and it goes to the Empire restaurant next door, burned for cooking. There is zero waste leaving the ward. And so the citizen association in the startup and the local MP, 3 of them was invited by the German government to give an award. To that how government, people, startup solving their own problem. So this one ward is about zero waste ward right now. So the one MP got an award. All the 14 MPs won the award now. So automatically Bangalore government has given 14 locations that every ward that they want to have this plant. So, this is what about innovation element. So I'm very glad our entrepreneurs are taking the technologies and solving for India, solving for Bharat. That's what I will say. That is what appropriate for that, because we saw that e-commerce worked in US, did not work in India until we introduced cash on delivery. Because we are a trust deficit people. People don't trust who's the guy going to take my money and run away. So e-commerce took off when cash on delivery was introduced. So this is what our entrepreneurs are awesome in taking the technologies and innovation, but localizing for the Indian need. That's part. The second part about the impact and the growth story, and the climate is amazing new kind of boost for the entire industry, because today no longer people talk about poverty alleviation. That seems to be a old area, right? Because you see in the room there is nobody with kurta and jolna bag, right? Because there nobody want to talk about the poverty, but you add a resilience into it, you add a climate into it, then everybody is standing up now. So I'm very happy today because this word climate has a fantastic opportunity for all the impact investors. But many of them working on climate, they are looking only the planet element. So in social business, we have a triple bottom line, right? You have people, planet, and profit. So today, many of the climate startups working on only the planet part, but people is missing. So that is a part that we need to add. So how we can have these climate resilience helping the poor people. Like for example, 2 days back, I went to Mehsana district, one of the driest area in Gujarat. They call Little Run of Kutch. And they get a rain 15 days in a year, they get rain. Rest of the year, they have a drought. 41 degrees, I was sitting in this village. And this one entrepreneur from Gujarat, from Ahmedabad, right? She went and analyzed the topography. During the 15-day rain, they have water up to the hip. She's able to identify a aquifer down, and they pump the water down, store it there. You can draw the water 1 year. After 1 year, it will seep through. So that 8 years back, she did in one farmer's area, and 8 years, this person has not had any water problem. The whole village, this only farmer is growing 3 times a year. Rest of them do only monsoon. So this is about the how she's working on it. So now, Chief Minister of Gujarat called her and say that go and help in flood time. Right? During flood time, you have water everywhere. Summer, we have a drought. She's saying that we have these hundreds of borewells in Ahmedabad by the municipality. Come and help us. So this is what I am seeing about the scale in the impact space is happening, because government is the only people can solve problem in scale. When the moment impact entrepreneurs start working with the government, the scale happens automatically. So that is that part that I want. Similarly, water, right? And we're talking about metal and recycling, reclaiming. Then this water is something that not much is happening. We need more on water as well, right? So I was happy last month, for the ESG report, I visited Arvind Mills. And they have a 200-acre plant, and they say that what Ahmedabad consumes in a day, that much water we need for this one plant. Where is the water will come, right? They develop the complete recycling of the water. 10% evaporation, they take the municipality water for 7 miles underground and recycle. So what they've learned in recycling water themselves, now it becomes this company Envisol. You see that stall they have, right? They're telling the other companies what to do. Similarly, in water in Bangalore, if we have today 80% of the water used in Bangalore, it is wasted out. People have a STP plant at home, but they don't maintain properly, and then it all goes in the drain. So this is what one entrepreneur did, how to change the behavior of the people. If all people, not the industry, all people in Bangalore recycle their water, we don't have to draw more water from Kaveri, because Kaveri phase 5 is going on, 1600 crore project. We're taking more water from Kaveri. Then the Mandya farmer and Tanjavur farmer in Tamil Nadu will start fighting, because Bangalore is taking more water from them. This is what this entrepreneur said. If all of the Bangalore recycle, we don't need more water from Kaveri. It can go to the farmers in downstream in Tamil Nadu. Because one bad rain, Tamil Nadu and Karnataka fights for water. So this innovation, what he did, he puts the plant for free in an apartment, take their STP water, make it drinkable, and sells the water back to them, right? And if they don't want, because we are awesome people, right? We said, I have Tulsi at home, I can't use the recycled water. So he can't sell it back, he sell it to the industry which want the high quality water. And during the crisis, last summer, Bangalore had a bad rain, and people living in 2 crore, 5 crore house, they don't have water. Now they say, give me the water. I will consume your recycled water now. So this is what happening now, the crisis making people to realize about what is possible. So now this entrepreneur is scaling like anything in Bangalore. If you assume that the entire Bangalore, there are 2,500 apartments, utilize the recycled water themselves, no more groundwater will be drawn out. So this is the kind of a scale we are seeing on the climate side. Then how do we add the people element, right? So Sahas has 300 employees, right? These are all used to be rack pickers, picking up waste from the landfills. She provided them dignified jobs. She refused to put technology. See that my goal is get them out from the rack picking. They should have dignified job, get the minimum wages so that they have all the benefits coming. They even own the shares in the company. So that is a part that Sahas is staying out, that I will ensure that there is no rack pickers running around in the city, because the landfill should not exist and it should be processed accordingly. So that is what I'm very happy today. The scale will come the moment you add the climate element to it, right? Because the gas, as you said, the crisis happened. There are a lot of people now jumping in to invest in that company. And Sahas, that waste management, now the model, zero waste model, it's picking up everywhere. So that climate element will provide the amazing opportunity to all the impact investors, entrepreneurs to scale up. But we need to ensure that add people element as well. Do not just stay at planet, because in Bangalore, right, many of the EV charging companies, EV vehicles, they all come to me and said, we are all social entrepreneurs. I said that, my car is cost 3 times more than the ICE engine car, right? And that is not impact. So they think they're all social entrepreneurs because Elon Musk makes EV and everybody makes EV, right? So that is where the people element need to come to call us a true impact investor. The climate gives the opportunity, at the same time confuses as well. But I'm very glad in Acumen, we were telling about we're raising an X fund. We said we will support smallholder farmers. And okay, they're poor people, there is no money. But the moment you added the word resilience, then we are able to raise $28 million. Yes? So that's a great opportunity that climate word it's producing because it's a fantastic. Elon Musk makes $2 billion selling carbon credit every year, right? And what about our weavers? That's what this entrepreneur is doing, taking the craft, putting a QR code, telling how much I'm saving by wearing a handloom and khadi, right? And similarly about carbon credit for farmers doing organic farming. Because today it's an amazing world. The person doing bad is getting punished not by the government, by the guy who is doing good, right? General Electric or General Motors not able to maintain the emission standards in Europe, buying carbon credit from Elon Musk, right? But what about our weavers? What about our farmers? So that's an opportunity that India has. I'm glad many of our entrepreneurs are using. So US GDP is 7 times more than India. Their per capita emission is 6 times more than India. If carbon is the new gold, who's rich? So that is an angle we have. Great opportunity for us.
Wonderful. I think I had a follow-up question regarding when India will talk about impact unicorns. So how do you see our startup ecosystem evolving where we'll move from profit only to profit also?
Yes. So this is what, that's the Bangalore definition of startup is no profit, right? So Flipkart is still the largest non-profit in the country, yes? But places like Tamil Nadu and Gujarat, I see your entrepreneurs are amazing. They understand what profit is. They're from day one. That is what the VC model creates a problem. They said, don't look at the bottom, keep looking at the top. And keep on feeding the investor money for the bottom, which is not a correct model. When they go to IPO, there the real investor beat them up. Look at all the unicorns listed in the stock markets are struggling because an ordinary day trader understands business better than the VCs. So that is the problem that we have. That is why we need to create more investors in India, which today is a problem that Series B money, anybody $100 million check and above coming from US. We have a zero Series B fund. So that means that all the initiative, what they're doing, they have to wait for somebody in US to bail them out. So that is why we need more entrepreneurs to come. I was telling about the GCCI as well. There are 1 lakh partners, members in there. Just put 1% of your wealth into startups. Hiranmay is supporting hundreds of startups by the government, right? Match his investment, right? That's what I'm doing in Tamil Nadu. We have 250 angel investors in smaller towns. They are starting investing. There are traditional people, they're investing in startups, right? Chris Gopalakrishnan told that every HNI in India put 1% of your wealth into startup because all the money going to real estate and gold. And he has put 20% of his wealth in the startups. So if that happens, we will have more Series B level funds comes from India. Then people solving India's problem will get appreciated. Otherwise, today we are solving the model because if you look at Ola, right? 10 years back, we said Ola is the largest car company without owning a single car. Today, what Ola is doing, they're manufacturing vehicles. From asset light, they're asset. What happened? Elon Musk happened. 10 years back, Elon Musk was a failure. Today, he's successful. So we just copy. EV become popular in India. He is successful in space. Now space startups coming up because Series B money has to come from US. They're going to look at the US success stories. So Gujarat has a fantastic opportunity. Entrepreneurship is ingrained in everybody's blood, but support more entrepreneurs. Create a fund, put a diversification that every GCCI member should become an angel investor. Yeah.
Wonderful. So just to elaborate a little bit, if some of you would be interested in what government of Gujarat offers to innovators and entrepreneurs, We give up to 40 lakhs of grants to your ideas and innovation if you come to take our support at iHub and other platforms. These are grants. These are free taxpayer money available to solve problems. Beyond that, if you need equity capital through our sister concern Gujarat Venture Finance Limited, you have two different layers of access to capital. One is through the Praram Fund, where you can get something between 50 lakhs to 3 crores if you are in the early stage. And then in the latter stage, you can get up to 15 crores. So a lot of capitals are available by government if you are solving right problem, right innovations. We are giving grants for testing your products. We are giving grants for protecting your intellectual property right up to 10 lakhs rupees. We are giving grants to pilot your innovations in government ecosystem involving PSUs and urban bodies. I will be happy to tell you that two large urban bodies of Gujarat government, one is Ahmedabad Municipal Corporation and Surat Municipal Corporation, has recently launched something called AMC Startup Policy and SMC Startup Policy. Each of them are going to spend around 250 crore capital for supporting startups related to urban issues. And waste recycle and waste management and clean technology for civic governance is one of the top 5 sector in that. 2-3 important things that we are doing in this. Once, if you have a good innovations, you come, we will give you a free pilot. Second, if you can prove your worth in the free pilot, we will do a limited tender to procure from startups to give you a privileged access. And third, all the public procurements beyond 50 crores in these urban bodies will give a preference up to 15% of the value, work order value to startups in that domain. So we are opening up market, we are opening up capital, just looking for technology to come. So if some of you believe that probably जब नील भाई ने चालू किए थे ये सब कुछ नहीं होगा, neither somebody came to give him grant, nor somebody told that there is a policy, come and work something, but you have a privileged access. Please leverage that. Today, one of my colleagues is here. Abhimanyu, could you stand up, please? So Abhimanyu is here. He has brought 20 waste recycle startups who are exhibiting in this green exhibition. If you find time, please go and visit them. If you cannot do anything, at least clap them, right? Then also you can become an enabler in the ecosystem. If you can please sit down. You can mentor these startups, you can guide them, you can connect them. I think out of 200,000 startups that India has by now, less than 5,000 are in this domain. But imagine if you can make this 5x, 10x, 15x, you will have a larger community to talk about your problems and your solutions. So before I open up to my audience to ask any question to specific thing, Neal bhai, I have one last question to you. In enterprises and models of startups, only one domain technology does not help. You need to bring in technology from different peripheral sectors to be a nice product and solution. And today we talk about robotics, artificial intelligence, and so many cutting edge technology are coming and making our life easier. So because you have built a good company in this segment, which are the areas related to waste management in tangential domain, in computer science, in robotics, in biotechnology, do you think where researchers need to come forward to help entrepreneurs to get technology available?
Yeah, look, I'll answer this in two ways, right? First, on the non-tech side, there are aspects around insurance for waste management companies, recyclers, processors. I think Nagaraja sir mentioned that in one of his answers regarding supporting the downstream collector, right? So building those insurance, whether it is around working capital, whether it is around feedstock capability, whether it is around him getting machines or the stock that he's collecting every day. These are daily wage workers. These are folks who are going down in the trenches and surviving off whatever they're doing every day, right? So I think that's one area. Second, when we talk about the other non-tech part, I feel like there is a lot that needs to be solved about the logistics. And, right now, people have sort of assumed that यहाँ से वहाँ जाने का 800 रुपए per ton भाड़ा है, right? And यहाँ पे 1200 है. So people have like set understandings basis their commercial unit economics. without actually realizing what the reverse logistics opportunity is, right? So I think that's one area of startups where I personally, like the original idea for Magma Green for me was a liquidation marketplace, right? Like let's build a reverse logistics liquidation marketplace. And fortunately, we found more high velocity opportunities to work on. But I think that's one area that excites me. I think on the deep tech side, right? Precision industrial components. I think deep tech engineering. I think we are sitting at a time where I think it's Trump 12.0, Trump 13.0, right? Like the macroeconomic uncertainty is at an all-time high. And for a recycler sitting in India to say that my line is from Europe, my components are coming which are 90% marked up from that OEM, right? Say Tomra. And being dependent on that supply chain to power what is the most critical part of their machine life, to startups now coming and solving for the component supply chain, being that localization layer for them. I think that's one area. And second of all, I think, look, AI has been the most used and abused word, but hand to heart, we feel like that's where advocacy with the policymakers and the government and leveraging the data they have, right? Like we've leveraged the NHAI data and built an AI tool out of it. And that's basically given a real-time visibility so that whenever aspects like EPR, GST, a lot of compliance-related, supply chain assumptions that people want to iron out, basis this data, leveraging it in your existing supply chain, people are ready to pay. Sir, you would be surprised. We started that vertical digital solutions business just a quarter back. Today we already have like 27 paying customers, and we haven't had the need to go to sell them. Just ये बताए इसका use case क्या है, what is it going to do for you, and people are just paying for the yearly subscription of it. So I think more SaaS and more deep tech around precision engineering are two exciting areas where I personally look forward to spending the rest of the decade in.
I think this is nice. So I will open up to take few questions. If any of you have questions, please raise your hand. I will make sure that a mic reaches to you. The AV team, can you take a mic to him? There are certain questions there. Yeah, please. Be precise in your question and whom you want to address this issue. Yeah.
Hello. Actually, my question is for the whole panel. I'm not sure who would be able to answer. But first of all, thank you for useful insight. My name is Parag, and I deal with supplying construction materials in North America. One thing I've noticed is there is increasing demand of recycled materials in North America coming from India. If I want to give one example is aluminum panel, which we install in the exterior and interior of the building. Now, North America demands that those panels would become, if they're coming from like a recycle certified source or factory, they are ready to pay a premium for that. So my question is, as per your experience, what are the sectors or product categories that India is producing right now has potential to export, considering this recycled component into it?
Is that for me or him?
To be honest, I'm not sure who can answer this, but it's for general. Maybe you can start, or if anyone has to add on, you can add on.
I think we'll all just share like a few thoughts around it, but look, composite materials is a category where we've seen a lot of startups build here, especially like in Ahmedabad. I know so many people building construction composite materials, right? From your sugarcane bagasse, from your husk, from even the production waste that they're been recycling. But the sad reality is that there is a commercial viability problem that's coming that is making these guys hard to scale and sustain, right? It's a great idea, it's a great value prop, but when you're operating in a supply chain where people in your 800 kilometers radius are saying that, nahi, mere ko to ye 22 rupees kilo sasta pad raha hai, I'm going to buy this instead, right? So for them to kind of build the global supply chain, find the compliance, I think a lot of hand holding is required. I don't have the specific domain knowledge about which materials that you're talking about, so I'll have like some of the panel experts talk, but those are my 2 cents.
Thank you.
The MLP, right? If you see that at least there are 4 or 5 startups here, they convert MLP, which is thrown into landfill or get into a cement factory for incineration. Today we are making paver blocks. That's a great utilization. I'm sure there's an amazing market overseas available because I've not seen anybody doing anything in MLP in the US, right? The second is about biodegradable packaging. I think a lot of innovations are coming out from biopolymers, right? Biodegradable packing material. So that is the other part replacing thermocol. There is one startup I saw there. So these 2 areas has a huge potential for exports because especially the packing material, the economics does not work for the Indian customers, right? But foreign customers, they would be willing to pay that extra money. So that's the area. Paver block is working very well in India. Anyone who does paver blocks using MLP, they have a huge market in India. But biodegradable packaging, that has a fantastic potential for overseas.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, so like sir has said, with MLP there are other applications also which you can kind of use. Of course, it's not an upcycling, but let's say some of the passenger seats in the auto rickshaws or truck seats which people are doing in India, exporting to Southeast Asia as well. Apart from paver blocks, construction, basically during the construction applications people are now, BPCL have started using some of those in the roads as well. Bhutan and has adopted it significantly well. So those are some of the other applications which are commercial viable.
Wonderful. So any 1 or 2 question max that we can take, given the time limit that we have. If any of you, please raise your hands. Ma'am.
Somebody rightly, you rightly mentioned about commercial viability problem for startups like us who are working in advanced material. How did you crack your first, problem of getting your unit economics correctly for advanced material, and then the journey to the integrating the other supply chain problems that your company is solving. So unit economics is something that we might be struggling with when we scale. Could you just shed some light on that?
Absolutely. Look, like one of our earliest investor always mentioned that unit economics without scale don't tend to be a real mirror as to how the business is shaping up, right? And advanced materials, these are critical formulation, customization that goes on. I was at one of our processing facilities yesterday, and every time I visit, like one of the overarching understanding is always coming around: how are we going to integrate with the existing material that the factory is using, right? And I think part of the problem, what Saurabh also highlighted, was cracking the customer is the most difficult part. And when you're entering with something so niche, formulated, customized, and you're going through so many efficacy trials, line trials, purchase managers, the people questioning the commercial viability of it. I think where we've found our opportunity is that we enter with something else, right? Like our pitch to them on day one is that, hey, we're not here to sell you our advanced materials. That's something we can figure out on the go. We're gonna give you something that you need every day, and that may be just 3-4% EBITDA for us. But the business that makes 20% EBITDA, you gradually kind of build along with it. And luckily, we see that like factories today are being receptive to someone doing that from their existing vendor rather than altogether new one. Like I'll talk about our facility only, right? Someone who's supplying me zirconium, and he comes and says that, hey, I'm gonna make a formulation that's going to be a compound and is going to include all your oxides, additives, and stabilizers. For me, I'm going to prioritize that particular company rather than me having to do it all or find someone who's specially doing that all, right? Because he's part of my existing supply chain. And in a country like India, you cannot ignore the commercials. यहाँ पे धंधा है, right? लोग working capital पहले पूछते हैं, आपका pricing पहले पूछते हैं. And when you're operating into that, someone who is already meeting them once a week gets a better say, and I think that's a strategy we've been very privileged to double down on.
I will take last question, maybe. Yeah, somebody can give the mic there, Shruti.
Thank you. I have a very basic question. So, based on my interaction with various people in the industry, they come to me saying that मुझे कुछ करना है ये field में, right? But they don't know where to start. So, how can we build like a workshop or courses around becoming like how to start a startup or how to get technical knowledge in that field, which will reduce their I would say startup or the kick-off time basically. So recently, just to give you an example, recently we did a course on e-waste entrepreneurship, where we, after having 5 to 6 years of industry experience, we accumulated all those experience and we delivered that in the form of a course so that they don't do that mistake again. They don't have to spend their time in learning the same thing that we have already learned. So how can we make those capacity building platforms for the young entrepreneurs?
Yeah, so there are a lot of programs available, right? So I'm sure Hiran iHub runs a lot of these programs for startups. So if you're in Ahmedabad, attend good iHub. You will learn quite a lot. And IMB runs a lot of programs. So we have, say, for example, Vilma, who came yesterday, she told me probably a year back, he said there is no glass recycling company in the country. So we took that problem, and at IMB we put a statement that anybody who have an idea how to recycle glass, come. There are 16 people applied with just an idea. Within 1 year, they have revenue and they've raised money and all that. So like this, you keep looking for these kind of challenges post. When they put a challenges, we have a team to help you out as well to fine tune the idea. Government also put out these kind of problem statements. So there is a company in Pune called Padcare. So BIRAC put a challenge, say that recycle the sanitary napkin. Come up with innovative idea. This guy was a student and he just worked on it for an amazing idea. He received the 2 crore grant, which developed using the NCL laboratories in Pune. Today, he scaled up very, very well. So keep looking for a lot of these government challenges. A lot of the incubator has programs that acceleration happening. There is a lot of online programs also available. So utilize that to get whatever interest that you want. This conference is the best place as well, right? You look at all the startups in the expo. I'm sure visit everyone. Look at amazing idea that they're solving, but still there are gaps. That I was telling about MLP, right? Everybody's making MLP and make a sheet. So I've told her that at least 20 startups, I've told her that get the source back to source. Don't create a new product. There is, as he mentioned, there is more aluminum above the earth than below the earth. Can we recycle the aluminum? Now the aluminum manufacturing companies are into recycling rather than mining. So similarly, the MLP has plastic, aluminum, right? Can we separate out and put it back in the source instead of creating a new product, right? So like if you look at H&M, you will say that 20% reclaimed cotton is utilized in the shirt. So reclaim is an area that we need a big gap in the country. You should start working on reclaiming than just recycling, right? I think I like the second word. Work on reclaim. There are a lot of opportunities. There is one. And also when you reclaim, look at the higher order. There is one startup we have which is doing a lithium-ion batteries recycling. You getting the copper out and make a nano copper. If you sell the copper, there is no economics. But you do a nano copper, you have economics. There's one startup doing solar panel recycling. He focuses on only silver, which gives the economics. Everything else, he just sell it for cheaper price. But the silver alone takes care of the economics. So you have to look at higher order products. When you start making this composite, what he said, right? That coir in Tamil Nadu, there are 40, 50 years, people make coir ropes. Now the scientists are working, the startups are working with the college. Now they're using this coir reinforced for car bodies. Car bodies used to have a glass fiber. Now they're going to use coir, coconut coir in it. So like this, you do a look at the higher order problems than basic raw material, the economics will work. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I think you will have time to talk to all the panelists of the dais. Ketan bhai, I think we have overstood the time. I thank the organizers, particularly Gujarat Chamber, GCCI, Index B. We could not have Index BMD today because of some other meetings, but you have been a wonderful audience. You have been very, very inquisitive, very, very engaging. And if you need further any information or any queries, please catch hold of our panelists who are present here, and get sure that if you are trying to solve any problem in this domain, look at the best practices, look at the next practices probably which will come in this domain, and try to solve a problem. I mean, I always discuss with Naga sir that there are only two ways of getting things done. Either you work for an entrepreneur or be an entrepreneur. There is no third way. Okay, except you like us in the government, but we also behave like an entrepreneur in the system. So please go beyond that zone and try to figure out what you can contribute. And I believe every sector is as competitive as its people and technology available. If the researchers can bring in good technology, if entrepreneurs can bring good business models, and if the ecosystem together will grow, you will be as excited ecosystem where investors will put their money behind you. And I think this is a domain where we must put our policy, platforms, technologies, people and system together to make Bikasit Bharat happen by 2047. Thank you so much for hosting us today. And I hand it over to our host for the session.
So
Thank you
all
so
the
much.
thing I mentioned, it's in my book, Back to Bharat, and there are a few copies out there if you want to get, happy to sign. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to all our panelists as well as our moderator for, sorry. Thank you once again to all our panelists and our moderator for joining us over here, sharing your thoughts, your insights, and I hope we have a little idea that how we can decode the various business potentials in recycling sector. We would like to now present a token of gratitude to all of you, but before that, I request you to step forward for a group picture. I request Ms. Janu Prajapati to please join us to present the token of gratitude. We would like to begin by presenting the token of gratitude to Mr. Neal Thakker, CEO, Magma. Thank you. We would like to present the token of gratitude to Mr. Saurabh Pareek, Investment Director, Circulate Capital. We would also like to thank Mr. Nagaraja Prakasam, the author, angel investor, mentor, and partner at Acumen Fund. And we also want to take a moment and thank our moderator, Mr. Hiranmay Mahanta, CEO, iHub Gujarat. Thank you once again for joining us and making this discussion so interesting. Thank you. And I'm not going to let Janu go so quickly. I want Janu to come here and say a few words of gratitude to everybody over here who has been present with us for last 2 days and today being the third day. Let's have Janu over here.
I'm just going to take a quick 30 seconds. I'm really grateful, really happy, and it's really exciting how the last 2 days and how today has been. Thank you so much for supporting the summit. The discussions, the dialogues, and the panelists that we've had are nothing short of extraordinary, and we really wish that we can continue this for the next year and years beyond. So thank you so much. Thank you to all of our panelists. Thank you for all of your support, the audience. And we wish to see you come back next year and to all of the events that are going to be upcoming in the years. Thank you so much. Thank you. And the summit is now closed for 2026. Thank you so much.